Attuned Neurofeedback. Here's a few things you need to know before you begin your learning journey. My name is 𝘠𝘰𝘯𝘥. I work with EEGer. Before I jump into it, this is just my experience as a fly on the wall, so to speak. For about 10 years, I've worked with EEGer, not as a clinician, but with tech support, training, software and device development, even games. So what do we even mean by clinical neurofeedback or attuned neurofeedback? In the 1960s, at around the same time, 𝘠𝘰𝘮𝘮 and Barry Sterman independently discovered EEG biofeedback. Since then, the field has grown and diversified. Around the early 2000s, some clinicians who were using the software EEGer realized that the therapeutic relationship is a pivotal part of what determines transformative outcomes, particularly for people with complex histories, complex presentations. So this partnership of therapy and neurofeedback is called attuned neurofeedback or clinical neurofeedback. Even now, EEGer development is still guided by conversations with clinicians about what works in the therapeutic process. EEGer clinicians recognize that each brain is unique. There's no such thing as an average or normal brain. That means that to get fast, lasting, and meaningful results, a skilled neurotherapist gets a sense of the dynamics between the training, the person's history and presentation, and the nervous system, hence the learning curve. The instructors of the online course, Leanne and Anna, call it mountain neurofeedback. So you'll learn some neurophysiology. For example, what are the key networks of the brain? What do the different areas do? And what does emerging research offer about the human brain? You'll learn about the arousal model. And you'll learn some hands-on practical skills. How do you choose protocols, put on the sensors, when and why to make adjustments, evolving your sense of how it all works, what it means, and what you can do. Now, to be clear, you can find some more basic brain training systems out there. For some of these, you only need to put on the sensors and click go. They often make pretty broad claims about what the software automatically does for you. EEGer is different. It's easy to use, but there's still a lot to learn. Don't despair. You won't need to understand all this to get started. You'll learn as you go. By joining the EEGer community, you'll find practitioners that are eager, so to speak, to discuss these questions, to help guide you. They remember what it's like. We love how new users often share that they feel welcome as new participants in this open, enthusiastic discussion of these questions. Okay, so the first thing is the learning curve. The second thing to know before you start integrating neurofeedback in your practice is that your day-to-day practice is probably going to change. Stress reduction. Some EEGer clinicians report that they see more clients each day, experience less burnout. Booking, adding any new modality is obviously going to grow your business, and neurofeedback is trending right now. Some EEGer clinicians report a waiting list. It could reduce the number of no-shows. Given the outcomes we see, these results are really not that surprising. So second, your practice is likely to change. And third, integrating neurofeedback into your practice might just change how you view therapy. Calming fear. Neurofeedback can help reduce levels of fear and reactivity. As described in Seaburn Fisher's classic Neurofeedback in the Treatment of Developmental Trauma, which was this year just reissued as a paperback, brain training can empower the person to gain greater awareness, a broader perspective, and provide a way to make meaningful therapeutic progress. Then there's your approach to diagnosis. Neurofeedback clinicians tend to frame presentations somewhat differently. There's a greater emphasis on the neurophysiological aspects of so-called disorders, taking a wider, more holistic view of the patient. Neurofeedback therapists ask about things like sleep, energy, focus, digestion, relationships, as well as what has happened or not happened in a person's life. Where diagnosis in the traditional approach implies a static, immovable condition, for many EEGer clinicians, it's more about understanding how and why the world looks as it does to the person seeking help. A growing number of neurofeedback clinicians question the very basis for diagnosis, saying that the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, is limited in its utility for positive mental health outcomes. Finally, there's neuroplasticity, daily interactions with brain training and therapy, and in particular, actually seeing how flexible a person's brain state can be and how accessible this change can be often leads to greater insight into a person's capacity to grow. So rather than approaching the therapeutic process as a means of coping, it becomes instead an exploration of how to integrate new insights and new perspectives. So your treatment goals will change as increasing self-regulation allows reduced arousal, greater awareness, a sense of hope, and so on. Surprisingly, this can also be experienced as a new risk. So now instead of teaching your clients how to cope, to manage, or to settle, the challenge becomes how to help them become comfortable with success. So that's a handful of the things that will help you to know before you start learning to do neurofeedback. Between the growing research base showing positive outcomes and an increasing number of anecdotal reports from folks who have had transformative experiences, the question for therapists and counselors ends up being, with all the positive effects this offers, both to your understanding and to your practice, why wouldn't you want to empower your clients? If you have questions, feel free to get in touch or subscribe to this channel to find out more.